Alright guys, so over a month ago I decided to head down to England for what would be my first major English tournament. We were going down to World Champions GrandPrix, which was marketed as one of the most competitive events in the UK, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to see how well I could do against all the big boys in the GBHL. I've done this journey multiple times, it takes about 6 hours, also get a couple of stops in at some nice farm shops, where you can grab a couple of fancy pies and see the local wildlife.
Fuck are you looking at, mate? You're the most gormless looking I've ever seen.
Anyways, luckily after a 6-hour journey and little to no traffic on the way down, we arrived at the hotel. Just get myself a little pint and I'll run you through my list for the event. So Jamie was kind enough to write me another Gwahir list. This time a little bit different. It's only 600 points, so it's quite hard to fit in a lot of troops with Gwahir. But we have our Dwarf King and some Dwarven boys, backed up by Haldir and a lot of Galadrim. Had a couple of comments about my list being completely unthemed. However, if we just whip out our wee history books here, this list does in fact have a theme. It's based on the War of the Elves and Sauron, where the elves of Lothlorien and the dwarves of Khazad-dûm came to Elrond's aid when he was ambushed near Austin Ethel. And of course there was probably eagles there saving Elrond. Yeah, that's what we're going with. Next morning I woke up early and headed over to the Risley Hall Hotel where the event was happening. This lovely fancy old rustic hotel was an excellent venue. I absolutely loved it. It was great to see everyone and catch up with all the old familiar faces.
Just gonna film you making an arse of this. It's just a vending machine, surely we can figure this one out. Way! I hope it gives you the wrong thing.
Disappointing. Yeah.
Oh well.
As it always is with me.
So first of all, I do want to apologise. This was almost 2 months ago and I started drinking after the first game, so my memory is a bit fuzzy, so I will try and recap the games as best as I can. First up was Fog of War against the Breaking of the Fellowship. I believe this was my first time playing an all-hero army, so it was a bit of a learning curve for me. I chose the house at the back of the board, which he then deployed in, which was handy. My target was Boromir, and I was trying to keep Haldir alive. Luckily for me, on the way in, Legolas did his precise shot at Haldir, which kind of gave away that he was probably his target. So I proceeded to hide him behind the wall until I needed him at the end of the game. I threw a wee Khazad guard over to the middle fountain just to kind of play a wee bit of mind games with what terrain piece I was going for. It was a bit annoying. I managed to get traps off on Gimli and Legolas, but I didn't win any of the combats. Kept losing the roll off, so Legolas just would not die despite being defense shit. However, with his low model count, it did allow me to get round the back of his army. I did do my usual and fucked up and got Gwahir killed in one turn of combat, as I managed to let Aragorn and Boromir charge him. I'm not sure how I managed that, but I did. But eventually I got my Dwarf King and a couple of guys in to trap Boromir, and the reason I chose him was because as he has no fate, I was able to kill him in one go. I ended up winning this scenario, but I can't remember what the score was. I do apologise. It was extremely close. I think there was 1 VP in it. So between game 1 and game 2 there was time for a little bit of mischief. Alex from Battle Camper did let me know that he thought he might have a wee speeding ticket on the way up, so I decided to put a fake one on his windshield. Next up, game 2, Retrieval vs Iron Hills and one of the other Scottish players, Jeremy. The game started with a little bit of a shooting match, seeing if we could outshoot each other, but I don't think anything died. Gwahir decided he was going to flap about on the left flank completely uselessly. Eventually Jeremy decided to come at me, as I think I was slightly winning the shooting war as he only had 2 crossbows. Again, my memory is fuzzy, he might have just been really bored like myself. As this was a difficult choppy game, I've kind of forgotten to get any footage of it, so I do apologise guys. Basically the gist of what happened was, there was a moment I could have won the game with Gwahir and charged Dane off a heroic combat, but I completely missed it. This meant our leaders just kind of sat at the back of the board and looked at each other while our infantry slugged out in the middle. As he had Iron House, he did slowly start to win the infantry fight and my army started to collapse. I went balls deep with Gwahir and he died, so he was able to take his captain and retrieve the objective. And again, I can't remember the exact reasoning behind it, but the score was 4-2 to Jeremy, so it was a loss for me. So as I lost, I decided to drown my sorrows with a liquid lunch. We had a good bit of time, so we decided to head back to one of the hotel rooms and sample all the lovely delights that had been brought.
These cocktail.
I've only got them. We had to go get them.
Just turn that in one, yeah, roast that.
Nice.
Oh, I thought fucking idiot, man. I thought we were doing it as a shot.
I'm not turning it as a shot, mate.
Oh, go on, Jamie, it's your birthday. It's your birthday.
I'll do it if it's in a boot. Go find it.
Well, here you go.
Quite easy to drink, is that one?
Here's your folks. Let's stay together.
Oh, aye.
You know.
Right, I'm going to go check.
Why is he there? Oh, okay. Count it.
Godspeed, comrades. I'm seeing
See you on the.
you for next round.
Aye.
I think so.
One shot for each round.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy, the Hamas.
A little bit of bubbly.
So the next game was a bit more difficult. It was Divide and Conquer versus the Necromancer. Basically, I came on my entire army in the left, and I had Gwahir come across the other side because Gwahir can move fast. Moved Gwahir onto one of the objectives at the side and moved the rest of my army straight up, and I believe I marched with the king twice. I realised kind of early on that there was no way I was going to be able to kill these guys, and I didn't want to kill them because if I kill them, they can teleport in behind me. So my plan was to get as many of my guys onto the objective as I could and then just throw my army away and break, and hopefully I have the majority of the objectives and win the game. As I didn't want to kill any of his guys so they couldn't teleport 6 inches, I was throwing my guys in and two-hand feinting or stabbing or whatever, and the ring race were doing a pretty good job chopping them all to bits. It was kind of going to plan until Haldir decided he was going to be an absolute mad and charged the Necromancer, and I think he won combat like 4 turns in a row and refused to die, doing multiple wounds to the Necromancer. I'm not sure what went into Haldir, but he just refused to die. But eventually I broke and I realised that if the game was going to end, I would lose. He'd managed to get 3 of his guys into the main objective, and as this is worth a lot more points than the side ones, I had to fly Gwahir off the right objective into the Necromancer boys, and I believe I killed 2, perhaps 3 with a combat, I can't remember. And as luck would have it, the game ended. We got the 1 on the dice, which meant I was in control of the main objective at the far right, so I did win. And I believe it was again another extremely close result, maybe 1 or 2 VPs difference. I think if the game had gone on maybe 1 or 2 more turns, it might have been a different story. Game 3 ended quite early as he only had a couple of models, so I had plenty of time to check out some other games, get some refreshments, and go have a quick watch of the Scotland rugby game.
Mate, can I just say, if you
Scotland! Scotland!
You need to stop that.
Right now, 7-0, here we go. Easy. Johnny, are you a fan of rugby?
Here is Contest of Champions.
Yay!
I rolled it in front of people and there were witnesses. I apologise. Please put your hands up and no one start talking just to make it easier for me. Please put your hand up if you're currently in a redraw that needs to be addressed. That was fucking easy. Alrighty then. Again, once you've done, please get your scores in as quickly as possible so we can sort out the top cut and get everyone ready to go for tomorrow, and then make your way through to the bar to get pissed with us all.
Hey!
With that being said,
James is already there.
time starts now. Best of luck, everyone.
So game 4, I was against a watcher of the channel and a fellow beefy chiefy enjoyer. Things were slightly fuzzy at this point, so I do apologise if what I say is complete bollocks. So to win this scenario, I thought the only chance I had was to just stick Gwahir in front of the beefy chiefy and just hope that I killed him. As his army was much bigger than mine and I had nothing to cause terror to stop him charging me, he was able to just slowly swarm around my flanks and chop me up with the traps and a +1 to wound. So my only chance was to kill the beefy chiefy and get a couple of kills with Gwahir. He played an excellent game. He kept managing to stop Haldir heroic combating into the troll. It was very cleverly played. It meant I couldn't get Haldir into the combat to get the advantage of the Elven Blade. This meant it was just eagle on troll. So even though he managed to charge me, Gwahir with his 2 dice managed to get a cheeky wound on a 5. Then my memory gets a bit fuzzy. We were kind of battering off each other for 2 or 3 turns. He was slowly chopping up my army and it was really starting to scare me. My numbers were just disappearing on the flanks. The Mythosauron was also transfixing Haldir most turns, stopping him getting into the troll. Then it happened. I believe he rolled a 1 on his strike, so he only went to fight 8 and I went up to fight 10. Also, I had the charge, so I got the 6 on my 3 dice, winning the fight. And then I rolled to wound and I got 2 5s and a 6, causing 3 wounds to the troll. This is beyond lucky. I did not deserve this at all. And what was even luckier, he failed both his fate on 2s, meaning through sheer blind luck I managed to kill the troll. All I had to do now was get a couple of kills with Gwahir, thus securing me the game. This sounds easy, but Gwahir lost 2 fights in a row to some orcs. Luckily, didn't take any wounds. We then realised because of Gwahir's absolute tragic efforts to kill orcs, and himself getting chopped to pieces by some Morannons, we realised that if he tabled me in this turn, he would win. He was killing off all my miniatures, and with only 3 combats to go, I was shiting myself.
So forward to the front, guys. Yeah.
Oh, nice. How many more combats are there, though?
3
more. Oh, okay,
wow.
One's
a Dwarf King.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping he survives.
We're doing the Dwarf King last, because he's the most likely.
He's the most likely to survive, yeah.
Our shield. This one? Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
It's over. There it is. Oh.
Good game.
Oh my god!
Great filming, man. Thank you.
I managed to win a game that I absolutely did not deserve to, due to the luck of the dice. It was an absolutely incredible game, and I know you're watching. Thank you so much. That was probably one of my favourite games of the tournament. And with game 4 over, it was time to do what we do best: get pished.
Champions.
Good way.
Champions.
Why are you topping me up? That looks delicious, mate. Just put fucking Bulmers in your cocktail.
It will not be going to Nottingham.
How did I get you join my team? What have I done? What have I done? I pushed you to meet the team. I know you did. I told you to meet the team. You want to just put a bit of that. I'm the fucking captain. Put a bit of that bread in mine. Spat it in mine.
Wait, right now.
What's going on? You fuck off and on. You start. You made me pull rank. Ah, fuck off.
Right, you're off.
Yes, my
Fucking captain! Captain in all but name, apparently. Captain of the Black Pearl! Captain! You're all a bunch of arseholes.
Well, I've got sauce and beer on me.
Fucking shite all over me with the sauce, cider.
Wait till you hear this, man. Wait till you hear this. Even the fucking tap's laughing at me.
Sorry, may I?
Yeah, it's not mine.
Oh yes, this
Kill dog, kill! Farmer Maggot here. Don't lick my camera.
I'll lick whatever. Go on, motherfucker!
Lick my boys. Oh, for fuck's sake.
The reason why you're in the team.
Fuck's sake, Josh. You're in the
Aye, that's you got it, man. Fuck off!
Oh! Why would you do that to me?
Why you fucking push me at edge?
I've just been...
Hangover blog 823. Someone send all the ambulances, please. I need an IV drip. I'm just too old for this anymore, man. Still act like I'm fucking 21, but I'm fucking 32. Oh, how am I gonna play 3 games a day, man? How? Why were we drinking fucking whiskey on the lunch break? Fucking 12 noon? Honest to God. Right, I've got an hour. Let's hope I survive the night. So,
I'm too fucking old for this, man. Oh, paracetamol will save me. Fruit will save me. Fruit is healthy. Oh. I'm sweat. Help.
And with that absolutely horrific sight out of the way, it's time to jump in the car and head over to Risley Hall. A wee glass of wine to sober me up, and on to getting ready for game 1. So day 1 of this tournament was to see which pod you would get placed in day 2. Somehow lucking out and getting 3 wins and 1 loss, I was placed into the second of 6 pods. This meant that even if I didn't win any games, I would still place quite high, so I was pretty chuffed with that. Day 2 was also using the veto system. The first game was pool 3 objective scenarios. Not great for me against a fast moving Rohan army, so I decided to veto destroy the supplies. He then vetoed seize the prize as I had Gwahir, so we were back to playing retrieval again. We were both a bit hesitant to attack each other, so we just kind of had a standoff and tried to shoot each other for a while. Looking back at it, I should have probably just sat my entire army on my objective and just have Gwahir go for his. However, I started to move up the board, which was a very stupid thing to do, as I allowed him to get the charge off and surround my guys. Gwahir made short work of his Royal Guard, but he managed to kill off the majority of my troops in the middle, which allowed him to push through and get my objective before Gwahir had time to get up to his. The game then ended a loss for me. I can't remember the exact VPs, unfortunately. I suppose I could work it out from the book, but I can't be arsed. So anyway, game 2 was hold the objective scenarios. Another shiter for me, considering I was playing the absolute broken Dragon Emperor. I was against more models and the same fight, so it was going to be a bit of a slog.
I've got this fucking prick game 2.
Oh, look forward. Been buzzing all day for this to happen. It was always going to happen.
Need to get a bit of revenge for pouring a pint on me last night.
So Jamie marched and banged his drum to get up the table as fast as he could. Only got one round of shooting in to try and thin the numbers, and I didn't kill a thing. I did have the opportunity to get another round of shooting, but I decided the better call was to charge. This would allow me to pick the fights and get as many models as I could into the Dragon Emperor and hopefully win that sweet roll off. However, Jamie called a heroic defence, which meant with my strike I was able to win the fight. So I had about 15 dice to wound, and I believe I got 1-6, which he passed his fate. So didn't manage to kill the Emperor despite having all those attacks, which was a bit of a pain. Not really much happened in the second turn, we just kind of fought each other. We did the exact same thing again, all the guys against the Emperor, and I only managed to get 2 6s, and if I remember correctly, the Emperor survived with 1 wound. So this is kind of where I lost the initiative. The Emperor just refused to die. Fucking broken piece of shit. Most hated model in the game. This allowed his acolytes to get the flank in and come round behind and peel off my supports. But anyway, we just kind of bounced off each other, and Jamie decided to pull the Emperor back as he'd only got 1 wound left. I managed to get Guahir into him, and Guahir lost the fight and bounced off the Emperor. At this point I was close to slitting my wrists. Guahir was able to finish off the Emperor finally. A big skirmish on my back objective, which was slowly going my way. However, I wasn't in a good position as Jamie had the majority of the board. As this was pretty tense, I didn't get much footage, I do apologise guys, but Guahir combated over to the right and killed the captain that was threatening my other objective on the right. The mathematics was totally blowing my head trying to think out how many guys I had to have near the points to get the objective, but I decided with Haldir to combat up the board and contest the middle objective with Haldir and a Khazad guard. I was pretty lucky as he failed some key courage checks with his guys that ran away, meaning he only had 2 guys left in the middle objective contested with Haldir and the Khazad guard. I held my 2 back objectives. As I had not broken and Jamie had, I won by 1 point, 5-4. The student had become the master. I finally beat Jamie with a list that he wrote to beat Dragon Emperors, but we'll just sweep that under the carpet, shall we? Just shows you how busted that legion is.
Wee victory point. Yeah.
So, game 7, the third and final game of the day. And luck would have it, we're finishing on my favourite scenario, Fog of War, and I was up against the Rohan again. I chose to defend the Dwarf King, take the hill in the middle with the wee tent on it, because I thought I could just put my guys up there and kill Dernhelm. I wasn't too confident going into this as I'd been smashed in the earlier game. I lost a few boys to shooting on the way in. There was a big massive skirmish around the objective I'd chosen to take. He managed to get riders onto all my back objectives, so it wasn't looking too good. However, my 3 Khazad guard on top of my objective were doing absolute work. They must have killed about 6 or 7 riders themselves, but they were absolutely chopping fuckers up. I did manage to put Guahir into Dernhelm and kill her, but apart from that it was looking pretty dire as my army had completely collapsed. I only had a couple of boys left on the objective, and he had riders on all the back pieces. Haldir also died, and I did think he would be his target, so another nail in the coffin there. But at this moment, Guahir decided to show up and refused to roll anything less than a 6. From this point here, he killed the rider, combated over to Gamling, and then the next turn decided to kill Theoden as well. I was so lucky in this game as they just refused to end. The game kept playing and his warriors started to run away. all his riders on the back objectives scarpered, which meant he didn't control his point. I had killed my target, and I had a Dwarf King and 2 Khazad Guard left on my objective, thus I secured it. He then revealed that his target was the King, so I'd actually managed to keep him alive. So this meant that another game was won through pure blind luck and the dice refusing to end the game. Thank God for that, eh? So overall I had 5 wins and 2 losses, securing me 13th out of 88 players. I think this is one of my best results at a tournament yet. A lot of it was down to pure sheer blind luck, but that's a dice game for you. And with that, the tournament was over. It was time to pack up and head back to the hotel for one last night.
I'm fucked. What a weekend though. That was just amazing. Catching up with everyone, meeting new people, and seeing new faces. Faces to names. Thank you to everybody who said hello. Definitely won more games than I deserved to. There's probably quite a few of my games I didn't deserve to win, but I did. And so I ended up 14th out of 88. Only fucking Lidl beating me from the Scots. Fuck you, Lidl. You fucking prick. But yeah, that was the most fun I've had in a long time. That was amazing. It's quite sad when you leave one of these big events because you're surrounded by everybody and all your friends, and then you're back to being yourself. It's a bit sad, but oh well, at least I get to go home and see Bucky and the missus, I suppose.
Next morning there was an early start, but it was a beautiful day. Same journey up the road that I'm used to. Nice wee stop on the way.
Vlogging!
Before finally getting home to the big man, who I think missed me quite a bit.
Oh, hello? You miss me? Huh? 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 You miss me? Huh? 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 What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? Did you miss me? Hmm? What are you doing, you fucking man? Look, cuddles. Huh?
Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to give my bell a good old ring.
Wow. Some very fucking weird shampoo here. Purple kale shampoo. Why would I want to put purple kale in my head? And the hand cream is parsley stem. Not even the leaf part, just the stems of parsley. What? Who comes up with this absolute fucking pish, man?
A long-running public inquiry into what's been called the worst treatment disaster in the history of the NHS has heard its final evidence.
We bit of last minute practice before the tournament today. Got a break in the fellowship first, so let's have a wee bit of practice.
I'm holding 10 dice in my hands here. What are the chances that I drop
Thanks, Jamie, for the tip.
and I'm able to guess the number that it...
Spear hunters are coos. Alright, Daisy, what's happening? What's the story? You stink of shite, you know that? Whoa. Fucking mad emus! I'm not loaded in there.